Welcome, everyone, to our question and answer series for Research Like a Pro. And this question is all about choosing which events to add to the timeline. So it can be tricky to know, do you add everything you know on your ancestor? Do you add just some specifics? What are some ideas? So that's what we'll cover in the next few minutes. So here's a specific question. How do you decide which events to include in the timeline? Should I keep it simple? Should I include every known detail? So of course, this is just unique to you. It's add what you think would be best. But I do have some examples and some principles that maybe will help you to decide. So to start off, let's talk first about the research log timeline table. So in Research Like a Pro, we teach how to use Airtable, the research log, and within that it has a lot of different tables to use for a research project, including a timeline table. And so here's some thoughts about what you could add for your events. You will want to add all the events that are related to your specific project objective, but then sometimes our objectives go on for several more phases because we're just getting started on difficult research and we need to continue adding phases. So new research phases could add additional events. Maybe you're going to next explore the children of your ancestor or the siblings or other collateral relatives. Maybe you're going to do a project discovering the fans, the friends, family, associates, and neighbors. Or maybe you need to do a project on people of the same name because either your ancestor has people of the same name or other individuals that you're researching have people of the same name. So you could just continue adding these events to your research. And then you could use some other things that we'll talk about in a minute to help you to organize that. So I'm going to show you some examples from my Henderson Weatherford research project. And Henderson has been a difficult ancestor for many reasons, and trying to figure out who his father was has been the subject of several research phases for me. I had long ago assigned him to be the son of the Dallas County Texas Weatherfords, and there were two possible sets of parents in this family, and I thought he probably belonged to them because he moved to Dallas County in 1850, or by 1860, excuse me. And so, of course, because he's got the same last name, he should be part of their family. Well, in doing the research, I discovered that he really wasn't part of the family. He has another origin. And so I've been doing several projects on him, and I'm going to explain how I set up my research log and some of the things that I've done as I've gone. Because, of course, as we start our research, we don't know where we're going to end up. And that was the case with Henderson. So we also have, besides our research log in Airtable, we also have a research project document that we teach you how to use in Research Like a Pro. And you may be already using a document to keep all of your research notes together. And we have these different things because your research project document should be very specific to your current phase. So you will have your overarching research question. And here I have who was the father of Henderson Weatherford. And then you'll have a specific objective for the project. So when I did this, I had two ideas of what I wanted to do. Phase one was to research candidates for Henderson's father, and that was basically taking those two sets of parents that I thought could be a father for him and seeing which one was best. And then when I had a hypothesized candidate, I would use DNA to see which was right. And so my research for phase one really was centered on trying to find candidates. And so you will see that for my Airtable research log and my timeline, I focused on all the things that went into this. Now we can build on previous research phases. So obviously, for a second phase for my research project, when I tackled it using DNA, I created a whole new project document, but I kept using the same Airtable base so that I could just build on all the documents I'd already added for Henderson. So here are some of the specific phases. I had done a small little phase as for part of our 14-day challenge where we try to work through a small objective in 14 days, and that was to determine when and where Henderson died. And that got me started on the research for him. And then I really tackled looking at the candidates. And then for phase 3, I did come up with a hypothesized candidate, and I used DNA on that one. And I'm continuing the research. My next phase will be to take this candidate I've come up with in DNA is is proving that it is probably correct and continue the work using DNA and additional records. So what did I do with my research log for all these different phases? Well, the research log table is part of the overarching research log, the basic research log we use in Airtable, and it holds all the positive and negative searches. So as you are going forward with your research, you will of course have all the sources you already know about and you've added those, but then as you start doing your research, you're going to have some negative searches as well. And those will just be there in your research log so you'll know that you searched a source and that it was negative. And it will have all of your source information for both positive and negative searches. But when you do find a record that does apply to your ancestor, to your research objective, then you're going to want to add that to the timeline. And these two are linked in Airtable in our base that we use. And so we can easily just bring over any information we've discovered in our research to the timeline. And we just add these events. The sources are right there still in the research log, and then we can add those events to the ancestors timeline. So if you're doing multiple phases, you might start having a lot of events added to your timeline and a lot of sources added to your research log. So one of the things that we love about Airtable is that you can create new views to organize all of these events. So even if you are doing an additional phase and you're building on the same timeline, you can just keep using it and add these views so that you're looking at the specific information for whatever objective you've chosen. Now, and another thing that you could do is you could start a new research log. Let's say your research has really veered into a new area for this phase of the research and it just doesn't make sense to you to keep going with the old research log, you certainly could make a copy of the old research log, delete the things you don't want in it, or just start a new research log. So I've done this before as well. And so I can't say which is better. It just depends on your project. So for example, here are some views that I've created in this Henderson Weatherford research log, and I have titled the main view all, so all the records are here. But then I discovered a good candidate for Henderson's father in a William Sr. And then in looking in the records, I saw there was also this William Jr. who was much younger. There was a Thomas, and I hypothesized that these are all brothers, Thomas, William Jr., and Henderson. So I've set up separate views because as I research each one, I like to be able just to look and see everything I have for Thomas or for William. But then it's also very handy to have the all view because when I put it sort it chronologically, then I can see how they all fit together in various locations according to the dates. And I even created a view just for all the birth information I had on each one of these possible brothers to see just really clearly in one view how their births could all work and how they could all have been born, a similar time frame and could be children of this William Sr. So I have really loved having the opportunity to use views. So for instance, here is my Henderson Weatherford timeline view. This is filtered through the views and through Airtable just to show all the records for him. So although there are lots and lots of records in here for others, his possible father and siblings, I have this one just for him so I can look clearly and see what I have for him. Now, his wife was Clumsy Klein, so I've also included her in this timeline so that I can see how records for her fit in with Henderson. For instance, her birth from the censuses, and then also I have her as a widow in 1870, and I've included that to just remind me that he is not with her in 1870, and I've hypothesized he died about 1861, 62. Now, in this very same timeline, I have a view for his hypothesized father, for his father candidate. And so now I have got William Sr., and then I have all of the events that I am finding and putting together for him. And so just with that one view, I can now get a good reminder of what I've discovered on him. So as I go forward, more research will be needed on William. I have him pretty early in Arkansas, 1821, and a very possible William Weatherford in 1812 in the War of 1812. So a future phase could be exploring the War of 1812, William Weatherford, and seeing if he could possibly be the one here of Arkansas. So will I start a new research log for William with this, or will I just continue? Well, I am probably going to just continue with this research log. And of course, as I discover if this is another William Weatherford altogether, I can just create a view for him and say William Weatherford of whatever I discover, give him a little bit different title, different name, so that all the research will be held in one place. So there are so many different ways we can set things up, and it really does come down to what we feel like will work best for our project. So some final thoughts, really think about your research objective and then add the timeline data to fit that. If you feel like your research objective needs you to put in all of the data of the children or all of the data of the siblings, you certainly can do that. If you don't feel like you really need that for this objective, then just leave it out. A future phase could be to do the children or the siblings, and then you could use the same exact timeline to add all of that data. And then, of course, as we've talked about, you can use the views feature to create specialized views so that if you feel like your timeline is getting huge, you can certainly organize it, use the views to make it easier for you to see what you have and to understand your project a little better. So hopefully that little bit of a um, example from my Weatherford research will give you some ideas about what you can do with your own timeline and your data and how to organize and add so it will really help your research going forward. All right, thank you.